Okay, once again, good morning everyone. We're in the fourth video of this series, which I'll title Real Price Study on Copper. And so far, we've identified our zones on the weekly and daily time frame. We've identified our trend lines on the weekly and daily time frame. We've also now identified our trend origin, as well as our market structure, our swing highs and our swing lows. So the next thing for us to do is to determine how to take a trade. And how we're going to go about that is with some real price study. So just some introduction. This is the current price move. Let's make it yellow to represent neutral. So price is currently in what I believe is transition from a correctional phase to an impulsive phase on the daily. So in order for us to better understand this, we want to look at how price has acted all the previous time that it has transitioned from a correctional phase to an impulsive phase. Let's make this blue to represent a bullish move. Blue and blue. So now what we're going to do is to go to the 4-hour time frame and then analyze what happened in these three blue boxes, and if we can find any similarities within this yellow box and what is happening right now. If we can find a similarity between the first, second, and third block and the third blue boxes, then that means that we can expect something similar to happen in this fourth yellow box, and that represents exactly how we enter and exit our trades. So before we go down to the smaller time frame, first of all, let me just mark out the general market structure. You can see impulsive, correctional, impulsive, correctional, impulsive. Let's make it black. We can also see impulsive, correctional. This looks like an impulsive followed by correctional. This is also a impulsive, correctional followed by impulsive. It's just that these ones are much smaller. And then on this third box, we have a major impulsive to here, correctional to about here. We have another major impulsive. Here, so we have an impulsive. Yes, we have an impulsive about here, correctional to about here. Then we have another major impulsive. Of course, they still made a correctional to about here before this, and that's around the time that the trend ended. If you look very carefully, you can see that this long candlestick wick, let me zoom in a bit, this long candlestick wick clears our market structure on this smaller time frame. So just off of this, I already see a similarity. Within the second blue box and the first blue box, the highest point that the first impulsive move reaches is the starting point for the third impulsive move. Similarly, the highest points that the third, let me use another box. The highest point here, this first blue box that the first impulsive move reaches, is also the starting point here for this second impulsive move, for the third impulsive move, sorry. The end point for the first impulsive move is the starting point for the third impulsive move. Similarly, the end point of the first impulsive move here is the starting point of the third impulsive move. The only difference is that we also have a fourth impulsive move in this box. So now let's go down to the daily time frame, to the 4-hour time frame, and see if we can spot some additional details. But still, just this detail that I pointed out is already a means of being able to accurately enter into a long-term trade. All we need to do is wait for the third impulsive move. Do you understand what I mean? So therein lies the magic of real price study, because price moves in patterns, and the forex trader has to be able to recognize those patterns. So let's see if we can spot any chart patterns or something, anything. Let's look at. Okay, so let's see something like a W pattern here, but it's too small for us to bother taking note of. I think we also have something that kind of looks like a W. Okay, yeah, we do actually. We have a W pattern here, but the price comes back down here like this. We have what looks like a W pattern here, but it's very, very small. We also have a very clear W pattern here. It even contains a bullish engulfing candlestick towards the end. That was an absolute buy. So we have a W pattern starting the first move, something of a W pattern, but more like a triple bottom for the second move. And then on the third move, we actually have a triple bottom, funny enough. It's a triple bottom like this. Price went. Okay, no, it's not quite the same as a triple bottom. It's better to call it a W pattern. Let me draw it in full. So you can see price went down like this, then came up, then came down to the same place, and then formed the W pattern. So it can be counted a triple bottom because price reached the same base 3 times, but it's not quite because we also have a W pattern here. price didn't go as high as the first push, and that is for the third impulsive move. So now let's move. You can see something that resembles a W pattern, but it's not quite. It's too dissimilar. Here we have a fairly large W pattern like this. Although it's a very poor W pattern for being frank. And then here, something characteristic of the third impulsive move in the previous blue box is this big green candlestick. We have a small W pattern here, but it's a little bit too small for us to pay attention to. But if we consider that the end of the first impulsive move is the starting point of the third impulsive move, then even a tiny W candlestick like this becomes a major entry pattern, especially when you put into consideration this big green candlestick. So I'm kind of wrapping right now, but if I'm moving too fast, please slow the video down and watch it over again, because YouTube videos, as I said before, can only ever be so long. I'm trying to make it, do my stuff. Price is ranging, so it's hard to point out the W pattern. There are W patterns, but pointing out W patterns in a range is an effort in futility. We have a W pattern here, but it's not very adequate because it's kind of uneven. But it signals the start of the second impulsive move. We even have a triple bottom on it. I don't call it a triple bottom. What do we have? We have something like this, which is kind of like a higher time frame W pattern. And then we also have, price went down like this. This is exactly what happened in the second blue box. So that means that our best trade is probably going to be taken off of the third impulsive move. There isn't anything else right here. So let me now create a projection of exactly how price moved in the previous few times. So we have to create an estimate. So price moved impulsive, then correctional, then an impulsive. Let's just say to here. Let's assume that the all-time high is that strong. Then price corrected to the same height at the end of the first impulsive move. Then there was a new impulsive move. Similarly, in the second and third, price from the W part, price from the pattern like this, price came up, came all the way down, and then formed this. Price from the pattern like this. So once we see something like this, once we see this pattern like this, as well as this market structure like this, everything has to come together. Once we see our market structure come together like this, and then we spot a pattern like this, then we know that we can take a long-term trade. This is going to be a very, very big trade, obviously. Well, big in respect to the number of pips that we're expecting to catch. Don't forget that there's also a big bullish engulfing candlestick pattern that's supposed to appear at the end of this W pattern, because it appeared twice before. So that's what we call real price study, and how we take trades off of real price study. Of course, rather than call it trade, this is more like a trade projection, because this is the 4-hour time frame. It will probably take somewhere around a month, maybe even a month and a half or 2 months, maybe even up to 3 months before this trade will actually be, before we can actually take this trade. Not to mention that we will now end up holding the trade for at least 2 to 3 weeks at the minimum. But still, this is an excellent setup. And if things fall in line, beautiful trade.